everybody, and welcome to a brand new episode of the
Geek Buddies. Hey!
You guys will excuse me. I woke up with a bit of a frog in my throat, not illness or anything, but sometimes the lungs aren't cooperating at this advanced stage. So if I stumble or I need to clear my throat, just want to warn you guys ahead of time. I may dive into. Yes.
I thought that was a bit. I didn't know he was. I was like, "What's the joke?" I got a frog in my throat. I was waiting. We were just talking about the Muppets before we started. I thought a Kermit joke was coming, and nope. You just gonna hack it up a lung for this episode. Okay, cool.
This is what it sounds like sometimes. So yeah, we're just want to warn you guys ahead of time if you hear that from me. But anyway, we got so much to get into here. Thank you all so much for click and play on this Geek Buddies episode, or click and play on our podcast feed to listen to this Geek Buddies episode, our main show this week. We got so much to get into from the world of geekery. But first, let's introduce ourselves. I am the Outlaw John Rocha, writer, producer, and host here on the Geek Buddies.
I am Michael Vogel. I'm a writer and producer of animated TV shows and movies, and I do not have a frog in my throat.
And this is Shannon McClung. I'm an animation writer and a television actor, and I'd really like to reference this Muppets bit, but I realize you all haven't been on the text thread, so it's a very inside baseball joke. We're not going to get it.
Well, they will be brought into the inside for sure once we get to that story that we're going to tell. But so much to get into here. The way that we do, for those of you who may be new, thank you very much for taking the chance on us. The way the show works is each of us brings up a geek news item. We talk about it amongst ourselves, take a couple of breaks, and then we get into our main geek news item. And today our geek news item is going to be talking about the Acolyte, the reception of the Acolyte, the numbers for the Acolyte, and also the responses for the Acolyte, and how that leads to a bigger conversation about what's going on in fandoms and how they're being reviewed and how they're being analyzed and how much a reaction there is from the fandom for this stuff. We're also going to get into trailers, also going to get into Shawn Levy news, Marvel news, and also talk about stuff going on here from a particular director who's upset about some of the reviews he's received. So a fun conversation is going to be had all over the place here on this particular episode of the Geek Buddies. But Michael Vogel, I think you start us off, my friend.
I am. All right. So in the continuing story of director musical chairs going on at Marvel, we already heard rumors this week that Jordan Peele had met with them about X-Men, but it didn't work out. Lots of things being discussed, but something that sounds like it's going to stick. Shawn Levy is in the mix to direct Avengers 5 after taking on Deadpool and Wolverine. So obviously Shawn Levy, big director, Deadpool and Wolverine, seems like it's the movie that is going to save summer when it comes out this next month. And so Marvel is looking at him after apparently being happy, without even seeing the actual reception of the movie, just based on ticket sales, based on fan responses, based on the excitement around the movie, and probably based on what they've seen, having seen the movie mostly completed. Marvel seems like they're feeling good on the Shawn Levy front and feel like he might be the guy. So just to review, Destin Daniel Cretton, who made Shang-Chi and The Legend of the Ten Rings, was previously supposed to direct this film, and he backed out in November of last year. And the movie doesn't have a title. It was the Kang Dynasty. It now may not be the Kang Dynasty because nobody knows what is going on with Kang at the moment. And then that'll be followed up by Avengers Secret Wars. And, Levy, pretty, his types of movies seem like they fit the Marvel universe. He did Real Steel with Hugh Jackman back in the day. He did Free Guy with Ryan Reynolds, which most people loved. He also did The Adam Project with Ryan Reynolds on Netflix, which, although it wasn't the best movie in the world, definitely contained a lot of the special effects, action, adventure, heart combo that I think people have come to expect from a Marvel movie. So, gentlemen, Shawn Levy, we haven't seen Deadpool and Wolverine yet. We're all excited about it, but even without seeing it, what do we think about this as a potential, we've had Joss Whedon did 2 Avengers movies. Yeah. The Russo brothers did 2 Avengers movies. So this is the next one up to bat. What do you think?
The movies that you mentioned, for the most part, like Real Steel, Free Guy, I think those are really, really well done movies. I was probably a little old for Night at the Museum, but I know that franchise does have its fans. I mean, that is a younger audience that they're going off of. I'm not sure because there's the other Shawn Levy, like the Adam Project. I was not that big a fan of, and then I think and granted, this is further back in his filmography, but like Date Night, you see the trailer for Date Night with Steve Carell's Cafe, it's just like, oh, this is going to be hilarious, and it was so not funny. Like, it was frustratingly not funny. I'm like, how do you have these two hilarious people in this great concept, and the ball is just being dropped repeatedly? I also, and even though Feige, I don't think ever was directly quoted about this, but like based off of Multiverse of Madness, it was just like, yeah, you know, going forward, I think we want Sam on something because I don't have to be there as much. And I was like, you know, I don't know if right now them saying based off of his work in Deadpool and Wolverine, this might be our guy, because that's been said in the past. And I think ultimately the movie that did come out didn't for some of the audience was not as satisfying as it could have been. But I do
because it's bad.
Really because it was not great. In my opinion. I think in our in our show's opinion, that one maybe didn't check off all the boxes. So it's a bit of a mixed bag. I mean, I think from an audience perspective, I think we all really need to see Deadpool and Wolverine to see if he actually pulls this story off, this multiversal comedic romp off. I mean, Avengers 5 is interesting. That's the one that I feel like doesn't get talked about as much because everyone's always talking about Secret Wars and about what's going to happen, who's going to, like, how is it going to differ from the comics. But Avengers 5 has to happen first. So, you know, I think it's an interesting idea, but I think until Deadpool comes out in the last weekend of July, I would maybe reserve judgment until then.
Yeah, I don't think we know yet until we see. I agree with you, Shannon. I don't think most people are going to be excited about it until they see the Deadpool and Wolverine movie, because you've got to show that you can handle multiple characters. And according to that report from Deadline, that Justin Kroll, and I think it's Mike Fleming who broke the story here. Mike Fleming Jr. That there's going to be 60 plus characters coming back to be a part of this particular movie, Avengers 5, and then eventually Secret Wars. And as you guys said, the same person directing those two Avengers movies, it was Whedon and then the Russo brothers. You kind of want to have Shawn for both of these if you're going to go down that route as well to keep that rhythm going. So Jeff last night on the hot mic said he's heard that it's 65 to 66 characters coming back, which I don't know, he's plussing it, I guess. But like this idea that there's
I heard 67.
Exactly. But like he's plussing.
You can quote me.
There you go. Quote him. Aggregate that. But yeah, this idea that there's that many, it leads me to believe there are a lot of cameos in Deadpool and Wolverine, and that Shawn handled it really well. And if he did, then great. But this could also be a Kathleen Kennedy situation where it's like, oh, I've just seen The Last Jedi. You give Rian Johnson a trilogy right now, man. And it's like, shit, you fucked that up. So, you know, go ahead. Yes.
I would give Rian Johnson a Star Wars trilogy today. Just so we're clear.
I would give him a Star Wars Knives Out trilogy. Absolutely. But I don't know if I'd give him a Last Jedi trilogy. But anyway, well, Broom Boy, we hardly knew ye. But like this situation here, though, I'm going to be interested to see, because I do like that Shawn brings a joy and an energy to his movies. And does it always work? Mm-hmm. No. I know some people love Big Fat Liar. That's not really my thing. Date Night was kind of uneven, but I think Real Steel is one of Hugh Jackman's best performances and quietly a damn good movie. You know, Evangeline Lilly was fantastic in that movie.
No lies detected. No lies detected.
I really like it. I stumble upon it every once in a while. I'll watch like 30 minutes of Real Steel because I really enjoy Hugh and Evangeline and their chemistry in that movie. And the other stuff he's done, I like Night at the Museum. I've been a fan of those movies from the beginning, you know, and Stiller, I've enjoyed him. But yeah, I agree with you, Shannon. The Adam Project didn't quite get there. I loved Free Guy, and I'm not a Pink Panther Steve Martin person at all. Get that out of here. But I didn't see All the Light We Cannot See, and so that shows that he can have a serious approach to certain things as well. So I'm curious to see this. So clearly they've seen the movie and are very, very high on the movie. And if they do lock him down, I think once we see the movie and we love the movie, then we're going to be excited to see what Shawn can do with it. And it may just be Shawn is finally leveled up as a director. Like, this stuff is great. Now I want to go even greater. And if you knock Deadpool and Wolverine and Avengers 5 and 6 out of the park, you are cemented as legend status as a filmmaker. So
Well,
it may just
Avengers
be.
5. Avengers 5. We haven't gotten to Avengers 6 yet.
Well,
We'll see. Nobody said that.
I'd hate for a new director to come in for Avengers 6 after he's done 5. So, yeah.
It'll be interesting to see. I mean, like, look, again, and we talked about this, and we will continue to talk about this until we get more information. But if you read that Jonathan Hickman run of Avengers leading up to Secret Wars and then Secret Wars, it's a pretty good roadmap on what is likely going to happen on some level. And the thing that happened directly prior to Secret Wars happening in the comics was, after every other universe in the multiverse collapsed, you had the Ultimate Marvel Universe, which had its own comic line, and the Marvel Universe collide, and all of the characters from the Ultimate Marvel Universe and all of the characters from the Marvel Universe started fighting and then tried to work together to save everything. And you had 2 Nick Furies and 2 Iron Mans, and that's when Miles Morales came in and the whole thing, and it was huge. And then they failed, and the universe collapsed, and a tiny group of people made it out, and then you ended up with with Secret Wars. So I think that the 5th movie is some version of that. There are going to be cameos galore as all of these incursions and things that they've been mentioning. Incursions are going to happen, and am I correct that what happens after Fantastic Four in the MCU? Like, what movies come out between Fantastic Four and Avengers 5?
Blade is supposed to come out after Fantastic Four.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Cool. Sounds good, buddy.
Blade versus Gambit. That's what's coming up. Thunderbolts is in the mix here for next year as well.
Thunderbolts is before Fantastic Four, right?
And Cap 4. I think those are both before. Yeah, I'm certain Cap is before Fantastic Four.
Just like,
yeah.
Just because, I mean, if you're kind of mapping out a roadmap of what we think is going to happen, like Fantastic Four is in another universe. They're going to end up in our universe at some point, likely because of an incursion. More incursions will happen. Other universes will collide, which means cameos galore in 65, 66, 67 characters, all duking it out. And then you're going to know at the end of the movie, who is that core cast that made it out, that's going to go into Secret Wars, and then meet a lot of those characters and cameos recontextualized in Battle World. Like, that is kind of like the roadmap of what's going to happen. So, so when you're looking at what he's doing in Deadpool and Wolverine, and the number of cameos that have been mentioned, and the 20th Century Fox of it all, and the coming into the MCU of it all, it does seem like if he pulls it off, it's a pretty good roadmap for Avengers 5.
Well, let me throw one more thing in here. What do you think about the Robert Downey Jr. interview here with Jodie Foster? He was asked about the possibility of playing. By the way, if you guys haven't watched that, it is a fantastic interview. But they are so good. I love those two so much. But she asked him about the possibility of going back to play Tony Stark. Now, there's no way these questions aren't vetted before they're asked of each other. And so he said, it's just crazily in my DNA, probably the most like me character I've ever played, even though he's way cooler than I am. I've become surprisingly open-minded to the idea. Now, the cynic in me goes, I'd be open-minded too if Dr. Dolittle was my calling card after playing Tony Stark.
The man won an Oscar.
He did. Well, yes.
The man won an Oscar. Leave him alone.
I know. But I'm just saying, I love. Do you guys buy this? Because Feige has been the person who said, no, we ended it. We closed it. The Russo brothers said recently, I thought we closed that loop. I can't see him coming back. So the fact that he said, I'm surprisingly open-minded. And as I said, there's no way they don't vet these questions ahead of time. Do you think that this is opening the door, or at least teasing us that he's going to open the door and he's going to come back? Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
But potentially. But also, when you said like they vet the questions, they vet them with his team. They're not necessarily vetting it with Marvel.
No, that's what I mean with Robert. And I think Robert would not answer that question unless he wanted to.
Unless he wanted to. Yeah. I agree with you there. Yeah. I mean, when you look at what they've been trying to do with the multiverse saga, and the results have been mixed. I think the panic move is to go back to what worked.
Right.
But I think to sustain your universe, you have to lean into what is working, which is, not a ton right now.
But like, I mean, and just to because like, it's out, you're like, well, but Tony Stark died. He died nobly. Like, what are they going to do? Like, again, when every universe in the multiverse is incursioning, the likelihood is
Yeah.
You're going to have, if this was the road they were going to go down, the likelihood is at some point, whether it's in Avengers 5 or whatever, you're going to have a planet that is about to die, and their Tony Stark is trying to save
Yeah.
it. And it's a whole different Tony Stark,
Right.
you know, with a whole different context, a different Iron Man suit. It's not our Tony, but it is a Tony in the multiverse, and he makes his way in. And then you have a Tony Stark who goes, "Okay, I did my thing." And you have like this moment where Tom Holland gets to, you know, where Peter gets to see another Tony Stark, but it's not his Mr. Stark, and it's really emotional. Like, there's a lot you can do. Like, I think we get a little look, we're all tired of the multiverse because we've been beat down and it hasn't fully worked for us.
Right.
But when you work the multiverse correctly, it can be surprisingly emotional and surprisingly impactful. Like, I think a lot of people go, "Oh, well, a multiverse means every character can come back and no death is important, so nothing matters, so there's no stakes." And that's not actually how it works in the comics.
Right.
And so I think and I think James Gunn did a good job with that in Volume 3 with the way that he treated the other Gamora. Like, what you see is like sometimes the Gamora that comes back isn't your Gamora, and you have to deal with that. And so I think that having Robert Downey Jr. come back, or Chris Evans or whoever come back for Avengers 5 or Avengers 6 to sort of be that final send-off before, I'm assuming, they reboot the entire MCU post Secret Wars, I think could work and be really nice if done well.
Yeah. If done well. And I think that's the operative part of what you just said.
Asterisk, if done well.
Thunderbolts asterisk.
Yeah, exactly. That film, whatever. It's not happening. All right. Anyway, let's take a break. And afterwards, let's get into some trailers here from our friend Shannon McClung right after this. That's good. I like that. Take it away, Mr. McClung.
Because we got some trailers. The first one, this might be one of the most unique takes on a film that has come down since the Lego movie came down about over 10 years ago. So we got our first trailer for Piece by Piece. This is Pharrell Williams, the musician behind Happy and numerous other hits. It's his autobiography. And when you reach a certain level of fame, when you are having your autobiography made into a film, you get to make some choices. And Pharrell's choice in this case was, let's do it in Lego. So this trailer is, again, this is one of those things before the Lego movie came out, before the wild age of IP that we're currently riding the waves of, the idea that this movie would get made, that you would have an autobiography with the musicians' participation basically being the lead, as well as I imagine an EP and a writer as well, choosing to have it done in the style of Lego animation. This is just wild. But the trailer that we do get, it seems like it's probably going to be a lovely movie. I mean, you get all sorts of musician cameos from Snoop Dogg and Justin Timberlake and Gwen Stefani. To just visually, this trailer was just it was a visual feast. It was a trailer that I saw listed. I didn't click on it until John actually said it and said, "Should we talk about this?" And I looked at it, I was like, well, that looks fantastic. So, gentlemen, I'll throw it over to you. What did you think of our first look at Piece by Piece, Johnny?
Me? I liked it. I thought it was really unique, as you said, and unusual. And I was like, Pharrell Williams Lego biopic. And then I start watching and I'm like, this is actually really smart and sweet and inspirational. And we don't have enough of these films nowadays. We used to take them for granted in the past that we have these stories because we've become more cynical as a society. And certainly I would I would say I certainly am a cynical person most of the time because I just question people's motives from my own experiences. But when a film like this breaks through, or a trailer like this breaks through, and you're like, this is actually really cool. And it's good for younger people to see something like this, to be inspired by it. And it feels genuine from Pharrell, where you never hear any drama around Pharrell and anything going on behind the scenes. And I love a lot of the positive stuff coming through and all the different people. Like the Snoop Dogg stuff was great. Hearing some of the old songs, and they are old now, God help us, was great to see that pop through. And all the different array of artists that are going to be a part of this as voicing these characters, voicing themselves in this story is real fun. And the images, right? Like there's one that stuck out with a priest like rising into the sky, and this idea of seeing music in a certain way. And there are certain people that are so talented, they see things differently than everybody else. And yes, I know he says everybody has the potential to do that, but not everybody realizes that potential. And some people really enjoy seeing people who do. And I think this trailer kind of highlights that. But I'm going to be real curious to see how they handle the blurred lines controversy. Does it even come up in the story of Pharrell? Because he has come out and said, I would never write these lyrics now. And so I think it would be really funny if that's like a 30-second or 1 minute kind of exchange where Robin Thicke tries to walk through and they kick him out of the studio. So I don't know. I think it would be interesting how that's going to be handled. But overall, I really liked it, and the animation was glorious, and I love Lego stuff. So yeah, I'm down.
Mikey, did this trailer make you happy?
Oh
God.
Oh!
It did. Well, it did make me happy for a very specific. I mean, look, I think it looks really cool. I think a documentary about Pharrell is neat. But like, what's interesting is, so this movie comes from filmmaker Morgan Neville, who won the Academy Award for Best Documentary in 2014 for 20 Feet of Stardom from Stardom.
Oh, yeah.
And Morgan Neville also has the most successful documentary ever made from a box office standpoint, which was Won't You Be My Neighbor, the Mr. Rogers documentary that made 22.8 million. And so look, a Lego animated movie usually makes more than 22.8 million. Like documentaries make a certain amount of money. CG animated films make a certain amount of money. Now, I don't think that a documentary is going to make the Lego movie type of box office. But if a documentary that is animated comes out and does better than 22.8 million at the box office, it actually opens this up. Like this, what's really interesting about this is nobody could even guess how this is going to do, because nobody has ever made a CG animated documentary with Lego characters. Like, it just doesn't exist. Like, it's not a thing that has happened. And if this comes out and everybody goes to see it, if it even does a little bit of the box office of what a traditional animated movie does, if people are like, oh, I like Pharrell, I like his music, it's really cute, my kid thought it was really fun, he wanted to see it too, he or she wanted to see it too, this opens up an entire avenue of filmmaking that we've never really seen before. And more importantly for me, it underscores what everyone working in animation constantly says, which is animation is not a genre unto itself. It is a medium, and it can be any genre. So if all of a sudden we realize that animation is and just to be fair, I'm not saying this is the most original thing. There have been plenty of other documentaries that have been animated, but in the past, it's tended to be more experimental animation, doing some interesting things with it. It's not ever been quite CG Lego, which is just straight down the line commercial 4-quadrant. So I'm not saying that this is like revolutionary and that no one has ever done an animated documentary, but it could be revolutionary in that it might have that crossover appeal to a mass audience. And if it does, I think we're going to see animation do some really interesting things in the future. So I am very happy about that.
Piece by Piece comes out October 11th. That brings us to our next trailer, also coming out in October. The capper to a trilogy that I think we might be happy to say goodbye to. We got the first trailer for Venom: The Last Dance. So, Tom Hardy is back, as well as the symbiotes. So this is basically the inhabitants of Venom's planet. They're coming to Earth, and along with them, we get a new supporting cast, mainly Chiwetel Ejiofor, who, if you read the internets, a lot of people are like, Baron Mordo is in Venom. And it's like, well, maybe if this Baron Mordo decided to go into the military. The interesting thing about this is I think, when Venom first appeared in the comics, Venom was scary. And they certainly do lean into the more violent aspects of the character, but it has become this buddy cop comedy of Tom Hardy and this alien who lives inside him. This one, I thought there were some funny moments again, but for the most part, I'm ready to say goodbye to Venom. I'm ready for this to be the last dance. But I'll throw it over to you, gentlemen. Mikey, what did you think of our first look at Venom 3: The Last Dance?
Well, like I said in the text message, I feel like I've been beat down by this franchise to the point where, and also, like, just to be clear, Venom 2 is a nearly unwatchable pile of shit.
Yes.
Like, Venom is not good. Venom 2 is just stupid on a level that I can't even fully like I can't wrap my head around it. Now this one, to your point, like this isn't my Venom. My Venom is a scary Venom. I want to see a scary Venom movie. But I laughed a couple, like I've just accepted that this is a Eddie, I want to eat this man. Let me eat this. Like I'm like, okay, I get that's what it is. Also, they had a horse. Like there's a Venom horse in the trailer. So on a certain level, it's like I've almost been like, okay, guys, if the movie makes sense, I'm in. Which leads me to what bothers me about that trailer, which is the Chiwetel Ejiofor thing. Like, unless Mordo jumped dimensions and decided to join the army, it seems like Sony, in their unending wisdom about how to handle Spider-Man, is taking a scene that took place in the Marvel Universe and for reasons that none of us can figure out, have placed it in their universe, which makes zero sense on any level, and I can't understand it. So I'm like watching the trailer and I'm like, okay, like maybe, you know what? Maybe this one will just be fun. Maybe I can just accept that this is a, what the fuck is that bar doing in this trailer? Like, I was so annoyed about it. Because like, that was the, oh, okay, Sony gets their Venom movies, Sony can do what they want, but the MCU now has a little piece of symbiote, and we can run with that, and Kevin Feige can do what he wants with it. And then Sony was like, oh no, let's use that scene. And it's just like, how stupid are you? It makes no sense. The entire internet is like, the fact that I have people on my Twitter thread going, well, no, because if Mordo did this, and then Mordo did that, and I was like, no.
Yeah, no.
So it's like all the goodwill that I was like, okay, you're Buddy Venom, I'm fine. There is a Venom horse. Who doesn't love a Venom horse? Let's go with that. And then I was like, you did it again. You did it again. That's how I feel.
Johnny, you ready to attend this last dance?
Yeah, I would say I hated the second Venom movie as much as Michael does. So I totally, and which worries me about him doing a Gollum film. The first movie, though, there is something to it that you can enjoy. Certainly the chemistry with him and Michelle Williams is fun. The lobster sequence is fun, but not a great movie overall. And I was really surprised that thing made as much money.
I love that of everything you could pull of like, let me defend Venom 1. Tom Hardy sitting in a lobster tank is like your number. Oh, the leads had chemistry and he sat in a lobster tank.
It's because Tom is such a serious guy. Having him play humor like that, I thought was great. But I mean, clearly he loves this franchise because there's the fact that he keeps coming back to play. It's beyond the money thing. He's not one of those guys that strikes me as a guy who's driven by money necessarily, because he picks some really weird shit to do. So like Taboo is one of my favorite series of the last 10, 15 years, yet it's one of the weirdest things you're ever going to put yourself through. But he just has this taste. Even Bike Riders seems like a really weird biker movie. So he has, so the fact that he keeps coming back means there's a piece of him that loves doing this and loves this character. And so we get to see that throughout this trailer, I think. And the scope of this one looks a lot more, looks like bigger than the last two. Kelly Marcel clearly getting a lot of space to do what they want to do with this. And then, but this is the Mordo thing. You've talked about it, Mike. I think you're nail on the head, but what about this fucking scene? Why is Kirk Connors in this movie? And is that, a lot of people are speculating that that's Peter Parker's head there to the right, like listening to him sing the song, because there's rumors that Peter Parker is going to show up as a child in this movie and what have you. So like, it's just fucking wonky what they're trying to do and way out there. And I don't know if it's going to work, but if it's even remotely good, this film is going to make money hand over fist because people want to
make money. I mean, it's good. Look, cause already I can hear all you people listening to this episode in the comments being like, "Oh, you don't know what you're talking about. I love Venom. I just think it's stupid fun. You need to enjoy the movies." I get it. Like, it's gonna make $1 bajillion because everybody loves Venom.
If it's good.
No. Venom 2 made $1 bajillion.
No, Venom made
it made $500 million worldwide. This is the rare franchise that domestically the first two entries made about the same.
Yeah,
the
right.
first one made 800 million worldwide, and then the second one there was a big drop off, so 500 million. So I mean, that's still, they are very much in the black. They made their money, but I do think based off of that huge drop, it's like, okay, maybe it's time to wrap this up. And also, I think Tom Hardy is an incredible actor, but his East Coast blue collar accent, hey, does it got talk like the gooba gooba the gooba goo. The first time he did it with James Gandolfini in that movie, The Drop, I was just like, oh my gosh, he's amazing. But then now he does it every time. It's like, oh, okay, so maybe this pool isn't as deep as we thought it was.
Mrs. Chin, what are you doing in Vegas? Let me go.
Exactly. Burn it down. For the bike riders coming out in a couple weeks. Anyways, Venom: The Last Dance comes out October 25th. That brings us to the last trailer, which I think the three of us are very excited about. This is the second look at Alien Romulus. I mean, this is, if you are a fan of the classic Alien franchise, Alien and Aliens from the 80s, Ridley Scott, James Cameron, this one seems to be just right up the middle there. The first trailer, it was just all ambiance and vibe and scary. And this, we get a little bit more, but I think at the end of the day, you don't need a ton with this. Like, this is very much an ode to those first two movies. But I'll throw it over to you, gentlemen. Mikey, what did you think of our second look at Alien Romulus?
I'm excited. I mean, look, although I didn't think Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes was as good as the original of the Rise, Dawn, War trilogy, I really enjoyed it. Prey, we all loved when it came out on Hulu. And for all the fear and concern of Disney bought Fox and what's going to happen to these franchises, like, they've been handling it pretty well. So I'm excited about what they're going to do. And this trailer looks great. This trailer, like, they've really pitched this as we're getting back to the basics of Alien, and it really seems like that's what they're doing. I mean, it's a group of people. They get stuck on a space station, and the core of the story, they've said, revolves around Rain, the main character, and her android foster brother Andy. So, like, so we've got an android. We've got a female lead. We've got them trapped on a ship. They've said that from a production standpoint, they took some elements of Ridley Scott's Alien and some elements of James Cameron's Aliens because everybody loves those two movies so much. They wanted to sort of mix and match. And so they're saying all the right things. And the trailer looks like a scary movie. So look, I love the Alien franchise, even though realistically I only love 2.5 of the movies in the Alien franchise. It's still one of my favorite franchises, and I love it. And I really hope that this does for that franchise what Prey has kind of done for the Predator franchise.
Johnny, whose face do you want to hug?
Well, listen, that scene with the face hugger violating homie's mouth, that is one of the most unsettling things I've ever seen in the Alien franchise, because we've always seen the facehuggers from behind, or as they attach, we see from the behind of the head. Seeing the side view of that thing actually going in there was super unsettling. So this tells me that they're going down the vibe of the 1979 original, which is much more of the terror and the horror and the tension of it all, whereas the Aliens does have some horror aspects. Certainly them hanging on the wall, kill me, all of that stuff is truly unsettling, but it's also kind of a rousing action film where everybody's coming together and they're trying to, and you got the little kid, and all of that, Newt and all of that. So it's a cool film in that way. I think this feels much more like Alien, the original film. And I like that they're going back to that. Like you said, Mike, like Prey, going back to to strip everything away and make it a little more of a basic story. They're doing that here as well. This is 20 years after the first Alien movie. So they have some idea of what these things are and what is the whole purpose of everybody in this. Plus Kaylee Spaney being in this, Isabella Merced, a number of other actors that I think are up and coming, and it's fantastic them being part of this. I'm excited. I like the Alien franchise. I like the first one, I like the second one. I will defend the third and fourth one, especially the fourth one. I know people hate that fourth one, but I liked it for the wonky approach that it had.
You'll defend the fourth one?
I will. Phil Journeau, I think, did an interesting job with that movie. With
Charlie, the big white alien?
Listen, him getting sucked out of that little thing, that is horror to watch, that scene for sure. And Prometheus, there were elements of Prometheus that I liked, but the next one, Alien Covenant, I did not. Alien Covenant, I did not. So I find myself liking much more of the Alien franchise than I do the Terminator franchise or the Predator franchise overall, right? So I'm excited to see this one. Yeah.
Alien is great. is a classic. Aliens is one of the greatest movies ever made, hands
It's a modern
down.
classic. Yeah.
Alien 3 is a disappointing movie after you've watched Aliens for some key reasons that are very stupid story choices, but as a Fincher film, actually has some gorgeous, gorgeous stuff in it, and probably has the most iconic scene, image from all of the Alien movies. The image of Sigourney Weaver with that is by itself one of the most iconic images that even if you don't know Alien, you know that. Alien Resurrection is a tough watch. The less said about Prometheus and Alien Covenant, the better.
I'm glad you just said this on there.
Well, Alien Romulus comes out August 16th.
We're not that far away. I know. I'm looking forward to it for sure. All right, well, let's take a break. And on the other side, we'll have a conversation about a certain director here right after this.
Do, 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 do. Do, 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 do. Do, 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 do.
All right, this is mine. I wanted to talk about this. Let's get into it here. Matthew Vaughn had some strong words for how people reacted to Argyle. For those you know, Matthew Vaughn was the director of Kick-Ass and Kingsman. He has also worked as a producer and director for X-Men First Class, Layer Cake, Rocket Man, Stardust. And the box office with this one fell apart pretty badly. A $200 million film. It only made $96 million worldwide during its theatrical run and then went straight to Apple. He said, this is what his quote was. We had done some test screenings that had gone fantastically well. The premiere was a really fun night, and it was like going back to the Snatch days where there was such excitement. I love Snatch. I started drinking the Kool-Aid. It's a fun, feel-good movie, or I thought it was a fun, feel-good movie. We didn't make Citizen Kane, but fucking hell. Then the reviews came out, and I'm like, wait, what have I done to offend these people? They were vitriolic. I'm not saying the movie's perfect by any means, but I didn't think it was offensive. That took me by surprise. It did rattle me. I'm genuinely scratching my head about that because you can't ignore it. It wasn't like just a few bad reviews. It is what it is. You learn from these things. So this is a fascinating response from a director essentially attacking reviewers for not liking his movie, claiming the reviews were vitriolic, which is combustible language, to say the least, and was clearly offended by the response. This was not a good movie. For so many reasons, it was not a good movie, and people came after it. I don't understand the anger, so I wanted to bring it up to you guys. Like, is this something that you want to be hearing from a director? Does this make sense? And it's not like he hasn't had bad movies in his resume, so I'm just surprised that he takes this one so personally. Your thoughts?
I don't think he's attacking reviewers. I think you completely misread this quote. I think this is not what he's saying. Like, what are you talking about?
He's using coded language. When he says we didn't make Citizen Kane, that's like throwing the Nazis into any argument. Nobody was expecting to make Citizen Kane with Argyle. So
but that's what he's saying. Like, look, put yourself in Matthew Vaughn's shoes. Like, yes, he's had movies that didn't do well, but this movie, I mean, by a mile, is the biggest bomb he's ever made. And it was 100%. An expensive movie with like this wasn't like he went and made some indie film that nobody went to go see. Right. This movie was supposed to be a new franchise that was going to intersect with the Kingsman franchise. Mm-hmm. Like, this was like a big movie. And so when he says, look, there was excitement, I started drinking the Kool-Aid, I felt good. And then he's like, these reviews come out, and like, he's just being honest. Like, you made this movie, you were really excited, and like, the reviews came out, and like, I don't think he's attacking when he says they were vitriolic. Like, they were. That's a fact. Like, people were like, this is a piece of shit movie. Like, and so he's like, look, I know we didn't make Citizen Kane, but oh my God, like, these reviews were so bad. But then he says, it took me by surprise. It did rattle me. And then he goes, I'm scratching my head because you can't ignore it. It wasn't just a few bad reviews. You learn from these things. So basically, he's admitting, he's like, this wasn't like two people. It's not like the reviewer at the New York Times came for me and this guy's a fucking asshole. He's like, when all of the reviews are bad, you can't ignore it. So like, I thought it was good, but fuck, man, I guess I was wrong. You learn from this, you move on. Like, that's what I took away from this quote.
Okay. Shannon?
No, I did not think that he was going after the film criticism community. When you look at his filmography, just from his directing, like not factoring in his producing, he had an incredible streak starting from his first movie, like Layer Cake. That was really the movie that made Daniel Craig James Bond. I mean,
absolutely. Yeah.
Layer Cake, Stardust. I'm trying to think what. X-Men First Class, or Kick-Ass, X-Men First Class, and then Kingsman. Like his first 5 movies, he knocked out of the park. Now, I do remember in some interviews, especially when he was riding that wave of success, he came off a little salty.
Yes.
And so I think what he's having right now is a little bit of humble pie. And that, you know, Kingsman, The Golden Circle, there are some people that really enjoy that movie. I think he went too far. I'm like, there was one joke in Kingsman that I'm like, you didn't need to go for that joke. That joke didn't do anything to propel the movie forward. And he doubled down on that type of joke. And I was like, that doesn't work. The King's Man, that movie, it was delayed 13 times. And it wasn't a good film. I mean, it was one of those things like that movie should have, it should have scratched me where I itched. And as I was watching, I'm like, God, put me out of my misery. I don't want to walk out of this movie, but you're making it real hard. And then he does Argyle. So, I mean, the idea that he was drinking the Kool-Aid, I think is 100% correct. I think he's now seen what it's like to take a couple of hits. And I think he's probably going to reevaluate some of his directorial choices going forward. Like watching Argyle, like I had heard this was a cinematic pariah. Going in with that, I was just kind of like, okay, this is not that. Right. I mean, this is just, this is not like artistic cancer, but it's not great. There are definitely like I could see the idea on the script. I'm kind of like, there's something here. Basically, you took Romancing the Stone and slammed it with The Long Kiss Goodnight. And as a pitch, it's like, maybe that would have worked. What we got didn't work. But again, I think it's a little bit of him kind of falling off this perch that he'd been on for a while. And I think this is someone who was probably very sure of himself, getting a dose of reality.
Yeah, I think he, as you say, after he started out, good start. But I mean, let's be real. Layer Cake, small film, did well. Announced Daniel Craig, right? Fine. Stardust, I love this.
Didn't do great.
Did not do well.
Kick Ass. Did not do well.
Did well. X-Men First Class, people like it. I don't like the film, but it did well. Kingsman loved, and it did well, right? But you're right. Golden Circle I didn't like Golden Circle. Kingsman was a letdown, and Argyle was terrible. And let's throw in the producing stuff. Silent Night didn't do well. Bloodshot, he actually produced that. He's EP on that film, Bloodshot. But he also did Eddie the Eagle and Rocket Man, which I thought were good, but also did Fantastic Four around that time as well. So a bit of a spot. I think he's falling off a little bit of the perch. And like you said, Shannon, he has a hubris. He has an arrogance to him. And now he's eating a bit of humble pie. And the first time he's getting negative, like really hardcore negative reviews, he's saying this coded language, is why it bothers me. Like everybody runs back to the Citizen Kane thing when it's like, shut the fuck up. Like, nobody is thinking you need to make Citizen Kane with every goddamn movie you make. It's not about that. It's about the fact that, and critics, and this is coded language because critics get this all the time. Like, you take things too seriously. Movies don't need to be that. We all have shitty fucking movies in our resume that we love to watch. We all get it. But this idea that's like, you're being arrogant about it. And that's what bothers me. And then calling these reviews vitriolic, I don't think a majority of the reviews there were vitriolic. They were correct in how they were pointing out how terrible the movie was, but they weren't like, fuck Matthew Vaughn, and Matthew Vaughn should die, and he should never do anything ever again.
Well,
that's
I hope not.
Vitriolic. That's vitriolic. And I think it was, and the offensive, it was offensive. Like, no, I don't know. It's just this, he was over dramatic about it. But you're right, Michael. At the end, he does say, you learn from these things. And we'll see if he learned from these things with his next project. Yeah.
But I do think, I mean, we talk, this comes up a couple times with actors talking about, like this happens a lot with actors, particularly in big genre films, like big cinematic universes, talking about when their movie doesn't do well, the way the fans are upset. Like, yes, you've got a big fucking paycheck. You've got a house in the hills. Like, you're making way more money than most people. And in the current economic world that we live in right now, like, you're doing better than most people. But feelings are feelings.
Yeah, I
And
know.
when everybody's and whether you are talented or untalented or a dick or not, when everybody on social media, whether it be critics or fans or whatever, is like, this is a piece of shit, you're a piece of shit, this was really bad, like, you're gonna get your feelings hurt.
Yeah.
So like, I think everybody is entitled to a little bit of overdramatic when they're responding to the giant swings that fans and critics sometimes take.
I suppose. I mean, maybe. I mean, you can also keep it to yourself. You don't have to say anything. I'm just saying. I'm just putting it out there.
Really, John?
I've
Really,
never,
John?
if I was Matthew Vaughn, I wouldn't say a fucking word and live in my money. Are you kidding? Oh, please.
I got 25 years of receipts.
Yes. Well, let me have Matthew Vaughn money. I guarantee you won't have 25 more years. I'd be quite happy to make that money and disappear, man. So, yeah. So, but anyway, it's the thing that like when people come out and defend Eternals and they go, "Oh, the Marvel audience wasn't smart enough to get the Eternals." Like, shut the fuck up. Like we all under, it was very smart people who didn't like that movie, just like there are very smart people who did. It's not about intelligence. It just
I do agree. And this leads into like our topic that we're going to talk about after the break. But like, I do agree with the fact, like, look, and you know this because we saw it at the premiere together. I like Eternals.
You did, yeah.
I will defend Eternals. I like Eternals. When I size up Phase 4 of the MCU, Eternals is not on my this is why the MCU didn't work. Like, I think Eternals is a solid movie. There are a lot of people that disagree with me. I am not going to say that those people are not intelligent or didn't get it or missed the point. This movie just worked for me and it didn't work for other people. Like, it is really that. And like, what a studio wants is a movie that works for more people than it doesn't work for. And Eternals wasn't that. And I'm in the minority for the most part, I think. Even if it might be closer at the end of the day than people think it is. Shannon, don't nod your head like that. I think I'm in the minority. But yes, I agree that like when you like something that other people hate, you don't need to, well, you're an idiot, you don't get it, you're not intelligent, you're this. I think that is where we start to get into these problems that we're going to talk about in a second.
Yeah. And I think looking at Argyle, did Argyle need to cost $200 million?
Exactly.
Probably not. Is he going to get another $200 million budget? Not for his next one. That would be my guess.
No.
Yeah, you'd be surprised. I don't know. Like, it's Hollywood is weird that way. I will say, having not seen Argyle and not knowing what the twist of the movie was, because I just didn't care and I wasn't interested. No. Shannon saying that it's Romancing the Stone slammed together with The Long Kiss Goodnight, having not seen the movie at all, I would greenlight that in the room.
Sure.
I would greenlight that, like, that idea. I understand now that I kind of get what the twist is.
You know what the twist is now.
So thanks, but like,
sorry, did I ruin movie night with Argyle?
But I will say, it's like you sort of get where you're like having like, I saw the trailers, I knew there was a twist, I had no idea what it was, and then the reviews came out, and I was like, I'm not touching this. I got better things to do with my time. So I haven't watched it yet, and you're like, oh, it's Romancing the Stone meets Long Kiss Goodnight. I'm like, yeah, I mean, that sounds fucking fantastic.
Not at 200 million with Sam Rockwell and Bryce Dallas Howard as the leads. It doesn't sound like a $200 million film, but anyway. I just wanted to bring it up to you. I have a back and forth with you guys about it. I didn't want to scratch that itch. All right, let's take a quick break and we'll get into the bigger story here about the Acolyte, the reactions to people. Speaking of reactions, the reactions to the Acolyte here right after this.
Da, 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 da.
Exactly.
All right, let's talk about it. For those of you who don't know, we did our spoiler review for episodes 1 and 2. Those are up for you all to watch. Also, my reaction videos, watching episode 1 and 2 for the first time, those are up for you all to watch here on the channel as well, or listen to on the podcast feed for the Geek Buddies, our reviews. So the Acolyte, this reached 4.8 million views in its first day of availability, which makes it the biggest series premiere of 2024. Pretty incredible stuff to hear that about that. Disney, the exact first day viewership total isn't available for Ahsoka, the most recent Star Wars series, though Disney did report that it took 5 days to reach 14 million views. That comes out to an average of about 2.8 million views per day, 2 million below the launch of the Acolyte. But accompanying that has also been this review bombing that has been happening here on these other sites like Rotten Tomatoes and Metacritic. and I'm getting this from Yahoo and other places, it's about 88% to 90%, a little bit over 90% right now, fresh on Rotten Tomatoes, out of a score of 68 critical reviews, and a positive Metacritic score of 69 out of 26 reviews. But the Rotten Tomatoes audience score is 47%, and I think it's even lower after this writing of this article, after 250 plus reviews, and the Metacritic user score stands at a very low 3.3. And a lot of those negative reviews are people who just created an account or are consistently downvoting Disney projects here with Star Wars. So this brings up a bigger issue of like, where is the honesty here if you're doing this stuff to purposely destroy this series because you have issues with it being a diverse series that has gay characters in it, or has, is made by a gay character or made by a gay person,
made by a gay character.
Sorry about that. Like this is a fascinating situation. So let's talk about it. What are you guys' thoughts on this, and your feelings here when you see this stuff happening yet again for another Star Wars project under Disney's stewardship?
Shannon.
I mean, I feel like, was it Captain Marvel that was the first real example of this, that the critical reviews came out and they were pretty good, and then there was the review bombing. I mean,
and that still made $1 billion. So
yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, people are going to do what they're allowed to do. And I thought the rules had been changed, and maybe they were. I think maybe it was. I think it was before the audience reviews. You couldn't put one in until after the release date.
Yeah.
So now the release date, the release date has come and gone, and 2 episodes of an 8-episode series. But at the end of the day, the people that are more than likely, and I'm presuming here, the people that are throwing up those bad reviews, whether or not they saw the first 2 episodes or not, I mean, I don't think anything that they saw was probably going to change that. For some of them, I think there are some people that did go in with an open mind, like myself, who at this point, I'm like, it's okay. We'll see. There are things that work about it. There are things that don't. But at the end of the day, I mean, like, the fact that people can go on and put their review, like they want their voice heard, for as silly a reason as this might be. But it's unfortunate because, again, like, whether or not you enjoy Leslie Headland's work on this, she has a track record. Like, this is a proven writer. This is a proven creator. I think we should give her the benefit of the doubt to tell her story fully before we go in and tear it to shreds. Now, that being said, you're allowed to watch an episode and not like parts of it. I certainly did. There were great chunks that I'm like, man, this is just not hitting the mark. But I'm not going after Leslie Headland's sexuality. I'm not going after her as a person, because this person who happens to be a lesbian got the opportunity to make a Star Wars show and wants to make it her way. And the people at Lucasfilm, the people at Disney, are the ones that are saying, yeah, go tell your story. So it just sucks. I mean, and I would like to think that folks with cooler heads, that we know it sucks. And we know that, look, the folks who are angry for reasons we're not going to change their minds probably. And we just have to learn to, I don't know. Part of me is just like, we just got to tune these people out. Because all they want is an audience. Just stop giving the story air. But at the same time, I don't know. It's just a crappy thing,
It's just confounding, right? Because I mean, Screen Rant reports, Michael, that looking at the actual reviews, this is their quoting from their article. There's evidence of a review bombing campaign. Many of these reviews appear to be AI generated, consisting only of basic plot synopses. A surprising number of half-star reviews on Rotten Tomatoes are from brand new accounts, another indicator of review bombing campaign. And as I look at Rotten Tomatoes right now for the Acolyte, it is 91% positive from the critics and 26% audience score. So the disparity between that and a 4.8 million viewing number for the opening 2 episodes, there's just a disparity here in how people are approaching these projects now.
I mean, look, the bottom line is, it just means that people don't pay attention to the audience score anymore. Like whether it's a Marvel movie or a Star Wars movie or a Star Wars TV series, like when it's this much, it's almost like be smarter. Like if the audience score was like 40%, maybe I'd be like, oh, maybe that's real. But when it gets down to this, you're just like, okay, shut up. But I also think we need to be careful because I think that just as a society over the past couple decades, we've just become polarized on every front. And like, we do need to be careful that like, look, what you guys are talking about 100% exists. It's these people that are the Disney made Star Wars woke. There's no white people in Star Wars and there's no white dudes in Star Wars anymore. Everything is all about gender politics. Leslie Headland has a gay agenda, yada, yada, yada. And those people, I literally just have no time for. I just don't care.
Yeah.
But on the other end of the spectrum, there are people that are like, I love everything that's Star Wars, period. I don't care. If you say it's bad, I'm going to fight with you. I love all Star Wars no matter what. Star Wars is great. There are people that just don't like the Acolyte.
Yeah.
And they're not the anti-woke people, and they're not that. So there's a bunch of people, I'm sure, listening to this right now that are like, you guys are lumping me in with all these other people. I just got mad because of this, that, or the other thing. So I think what's happening is we just get lumped in. Like all of the anti-woke people are like listening to us talk about the Acolyte and going, oh, we kind of like this part in Latin. They're like, oh, you're Disney shills. You love everything Star Wars.
Yeah.
But everyone who's like super pro everything Star Wars, anyone who's anti-Acolyte, you're like, you're a racist. You hate gay people. And I think like those two extremes exist.
Yeah.
And the rest of us are just sitting in the middle trying to like figure out whether we like something or not. And I think like that's the danger, is that we sort of both sides tend to lump everybody into the extreme, which is what we do in politics and what we do with everything else. So I think it's just the review bombing is just the result of that. I wish like Rotten Tomatoes and Metacritic would figure their shit out and be like, look, you can't just start an account, post I mean, I don't know how you stop it, because like, yes, you want people to start accounts. I don't know what the solution is, but it's like, it's so apparent now that it just means that the audience side of any of these critic sites is like, you're garbage. Like it's not worth looking at because it means absolutely nothing, because review bombing isn't actually a conversation about, is this good or not? And I think like the real conversation beyond this is just stupid is that, and we were talking about this a little bit before we recorded, is that, look, I think the Acolyte represents the issue that Star Wars has right now as a brand, which is, there are people that look at the original trilogy as the sacred Jedi texts, and anything you do in Star Wars, if it doesn't feel exactly like this and remind me of this and make me feel this, it's not Star Wars. And now that it's from 1977 to 2024, there's a lot of people that grew up with the prequels or grew up with the new trilogy, and they're watching the Acolyte and they're like, I think this is cool. I like these Jedi. I like what you're doing. I think it's fun. And I don't know how Lucasfilm keeps both audiences happy. I don't know how you keep 40 and 50-year-olds happy while all of a sudden also getting 7 and 8-year-olds super excited about your brand. So I think like what we're seeing right now with Star Wars as a fandom is this push and pull where everything that comes out, half the people are like, oh, there's fire on that spaceship. This is bad. And you're like, okay, like let's go back to the original trilogy and talk about scientific accuracy. And then the other people are like, I'm part of the Yord Horde. I love everything. Yord is perfect. Let's put Yord's face on everything on Twitter. And like, it's just totally like two separate groups of people. You're not speaking to the same fans anymore. You have two separate groups of fans.
Yeah, I mean that's something that we talked about on the Monday show that I do with Christian on his channel, and this idea that we need to come back. We need to bring about a rebirth of the middle. That the middle needs to now be more active in coming forward and crushing the extremes on both sides in terms of numbers, not actually physically crushing, just pushing the extreme points of views out of the way. Because you're right, the people who love it too much get super upset if you criticize anything about the Acolyte, and that helps no one. That helps no one except you all in your bubble to feel good about each other. The people who are super extreme and hate it for no reason other than the fact that it has an Asian lead or a female lead or a black female lead or has possible gay overtones to it, those people just hate it for hating it for that. That is also terrible, because legitimate criticism gets lumped in with this stuff because people don't have time to disseminate. It gets lumped in. So in essence, by review bombing, you are actually undercutting the legitimate and organic natural criticism that would be coming out and be highlighted and focused and be the subject of conversation. And that sullies the water. So the middle is where you can go, look, this is what I liked. This is what I didn't like, or I didn't like it. And these are my reasons. Why did you like it? Well, this is why I liked it. Okay, cool. We're not going to agree, but hey, we heard each other. We understand each other. It's cool. Let's move forward. Like, let's go get a burger at the Habit. Like, it just to me is the frustrating part of it all, is that the extremes have sullied logical, open, rational conversation about these projects where we can exchange points of views and come out a little more knowledgeable, not necessarily agreeing, but a little more knowledgeable about the other side. And so that's the frustrating part of it all. But still, as I said, the dichotomy, 4.8 million people. So clearly the interest is there.
That's what I was going to say. The middle does speak.
Yeah.
The middle speaks in the 4.8, like the middle speak, like, look, trying to say that social media needs to have any kind of fair and balanced discussion, like, we're past that point.
One can hope.
It just doesn't happen. But that's where the middle speaks. Like, you know, you have these people that are like, Disney has ruined Star Wars. You have these people that are like, everything about Star Wars is perfect. But 4.8 million people checked it out. And depending on how those numbers maintain over the rest of the episodes, that's where the majority of the people speak. I do think you're right that it's hard, like, at the end of the day, it's hard to tell what fans even like and don't like, because it's hard to suss out. To your point, like, I think what's interesting about the Acolyte or Ahsoka or the Marvels, or like, take your pick of any of these things, is to figure out what makes Star Wars work. It's not an all or nothing approach. Everything is like, well, this was good. People do like it's nice when we do go back to the past of what we had, but we do need stuff that's new. And like, it's impossible to do that, because you basically have old school, I like my Star Wars the way it is. And then you have the people that like Last Jedi or like the Acolyte and go like, I want a new Star Wars. And it's hard to suss it out because we can't actually have a discussion. We just are good at having fights. Yeah.
Shannon, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, the middle speaking with numbers, that is a thing that I think, I mean, obviously is easily forgotten, because I think most folks in the middle, again, they just want to watch a good story. Like they just want to see a good Star Wars. And I mean, I would be curious, just because, you know, they aren't as open about numbers, and this isn't just Disney. This is a lot of streamers. You know, because a lot of these limited series, I think that's a thing that keeps them, I would assume, keeps the numbers high. Because even if you like, man, we got through 8 episodes of Willow, you know, and we were not necessarily a fan of it. I mean, we were doing the reviews on here, but even if we weren't doing the reviews, it got
rough.
It got really rough. And there was definitely a moment that I'm like, man, if we weren't doing these reviews, I don't know if I would finish this show. And that's because Willow, for me, really not a good show. But most things I want to finish, just because it's like, it's 8 episodes. It's something that I get to do every week with my wife. It's something that I get to talk about. Even if we're not reviewing, the three of us would be talking about this.
True. Very true.
So I mean, I feel like the folks in the middle probably do have, I don't know. I was going to say they have a responsibility to kind of try to, you know, squash those louder voices, but I think that's probably a fruitless endeavor.
That's not what the middle does.
No.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, that's the thing, is the majority of geeks, the majority of viewers, the majority of fans don't feel a responsibility to go fight with the crazies at either end. They feel the responsibility to go, I'm living my life and I'm going to watch something and I'm going to like it. It's us who are doing these reviews every week and are on Twitter and others, like, talking to people. It's like, yeah, we see the crazies. They come for us. Like, they yell at us or we yell at them. Like, there's a bunch of people on either end screaming, and everyone in the middle is like, look, we don't care.
Yeah.
And more often than not, in arguing with someone on the extreme side, they just want an argument.
Yeah.
They just want to fight. So it doesn't matter what kind of clear point you're trying to make, how much logic you're trying to bring into an issue. At the end of the day, it's not going to matter, because all they want is to argue.
Yeah, I've certainly wasted numerous hours or time doing that, thinking that I'm fighting the good fight by pushing back and going at them at the same level. But eventually that corrupts you, because if that's not your natural instinct to consistently do that all the time, because I think the people who create that anti-woke stuff or the super positive stuff, it's their instinct to do that all the time. it just exhausts you after a while. And you're like, well, you know what? I don't need this. I got an awesome girlfriend. I got a bunch of great friends. I got great shows on TV. So I don't need to watch their content and be consumed by their negativity or their super positivity in order to balance it out. Like, it's too much to take on. And so I do find myself lately being like, you know what? I just don't care anymore. Be angry all you want. I'm going to talk about it on my shows, and that's it. You know,
a very, very great TV show that I watched once said you don't pull your lightsaber unless it's a last resort, unless you're Yord.
Yeah,
which show?
Yord.
Okay.
Yord.
Sorry, you said a great TV show. I'm just really curious what it is.
Oh, wow.
Man, look, I'm loving it. I'm having a blast. That's the thing. Is like you do reach a point where and look, you guys are. I think this is what is the big thing too. It's like there are shows that I think are superb. Shogun is a superb show.
Yes.
Agreed.
And then there are shows where I have a blast and I think it's good. Like I think The Acolyte so far is really good, and I like more of it than I don't. But when we all talk about what's working and not working, I tend to agree with a lot of the things that you guys said. Sure. And then there are shows that are like Willow, where I'm like, I love Willow and I watched all this. This was not good. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, there's varying degrees to the good in your heart when you're watching something.
Agreed. We should end on a happy, positive note and a funny moment. I forgot to bring this up during the Pharrell Williams documentary thing, but I saw this comment underneath the review, underneath the trailer for it on YouTube, and I sent it to the boys, and I wanted to bring it up because they wanted me to put it up here. But this is Brandon Hubbard, 1996, reacting to the trailer, said someone at the studio was trying to email Will Ferrell about another Lego movie, but accidentally emailed Pharrell Williams. It's an easy mistake. It's an easy mistake. So there you go.
By the way,
that's how we got the Pharrell Williams documentary in Lego.
That is an A+ tweet.
A+
tweet
comment for
across
sure.
the board.
Yeah.
No notes. No notes. It's great.
All right, well, there you go. That's our discussion here this week on the Geek Buddies on numerous topics and trailers. Thank you all so much for hanging out with us. We appreciate it madly. As I said, we have reviewed The Acolyte, first 2 episodes. It's up there for you all to watch. We will be reviewing it every week. I'll be reacting to every episode every week. And so there's Acolyte content all over the place on this channel for you all for the next few weeks. Thank you for hanging out with us. Shannon, what do we have to tell them?
Yeah, if you'd like to follow us on social media, on Twitter, it's at @geek_buddies, on Instagram at _geek_buddies. If you'd like to follow me on social media, on Twitter, it's at Shannon_McClung, on Instagram at Shannon Geek Buddy. If you agree with Mr. Vogel and you think The Acolyte is a great Star Wars show, you can follow him at MKToon. If you'd like to follow Mr. Rocha and admit that The Acolyte is a Star Wars show, you can follow him at The Rocha Says.
There you go. That's a fair point, Mikey.
I like how I got think and you got admit.
Oh,
as if
there it
like
is.
It's not even. So I would say we would love it if you liked. We would love it if you liked this video right down there. Smash the like button, and we'd also love it if you subscribe to Johnny's Outlaw Nation page, where he has lots of things that we can all agree are opinions that are all valid. And you can leave your valid opinion comments below, and you can tell us what you like. And if you like it or don't like it, we accept you, or at least I do. I can't speak for the other 2 gentlemen on this podcast who seem to have strong opinions one way or the other, but I'll be your friend no matter what you say. For the most part. Maybe. Leave your comments below. If you're listening to us on a podcast, go ahead and leave us some stars and comments so we go up in the rankings there. And as always, the best thing that you can do is retweet this video, post it on your socials, send it to your friends, and tell them to hang out with your buddies, the Geek Buddies.
There you go. Thank you, Michael. That was great. All right. Thank you guys so much. Take care of yourselves. Be well. And we'll have a great weekend. And we'll talk to you next time with another brand new episode of the
Geek
Buddies. Hey!